If you can speak their language, you can understand their language, and you can answer the questions. Hey there guys, USMLE Pathfinders here with another video. Today we're going to be talking about how to utilize the resources for your USMLE journey, starting with step 1. Let's start off with why should you take my advice? I had a very weak clinical and preclinical background because of COVID-19 primarily. In January of my 5th year, which is when I decided to start pursuing the USMLE, I took the exam that September, and by the time I took the exam, I had successfully conquered it. It was an incredibly challenging process that drained me physically and emotionally. However, it was all worth it because I did not face any difficulties on test day, and I never doubted my ability to pass. Here's a breakdown of my progress during my studying. You can see my scores. Now I'm showing you these scores to emphasize the fact that I'm just an ordinary person. It can be overwhelming to see others bragging about getting 85% correct on Uworld and then asking Reddit shamelessly if they're gonna pass. Every time I saw those posts, I felt more and more discouraged. After completing only 50% of Uworld question bank, I was getting just 45% correct. All I'm saying is don't let these comparisons discourage you. Let's address what it means to pass the USMLE. It does not reflect your medical judgment as a doctor. It does not reflect on how intelligent you are. They only assess your exposure to different scenarios. Keyword exposure. And by the way, be sure to stick around till the end where I'm gonna be going through some lifestyle techniques that have helped me prepare myself for test day. Now, think of it this way. Just like a junior doctor experiencing their first 10 cases of a specific disease, initially it might take time to diagnose them. You may spend longer than necessary gathering patient history. Imagine the same doctor having encountered that disease in all states of his presentation. They gain experience and become more efficient at diagnosing the disease quickly. Keyword exposure. Your goal is to become exposed to the USMLE. Your goal is to become experienced in taking a USMLE-style exam. There are two main objectives in your preparation. The first one is gathering the knowledge, and the second one is converting that knowledge into points. Studying from resources such as First Aid, Pathoma, and Sketchy might seem like a tough task to do, but trust me, that's the easy part. Knowledge doesn't guarantee success. And I know it's repetitive, but it's true. Question banks like Uworld may not initially yield favorable results, and it can be disheartening to see subpar percentages when the test day is on the horizon. However, if you're willing to put in the hours and utilize Uworld effectively, it will be your biggest ally on test day. I would even recommend doing the first 1,000 questions in Uworld untimed. Now let's talk about creating a study schedule. My advice is it's important to set up a realistic study schedule that is slightly challenging. What do I mean by that? You need to have a schedule that will slightly be out of reach every week. Check in with your schedule on a weekly basis, assess what's left undone, and add it to next week. This will give your brain the impression that you're never doing enough, which will cause you to strive for more if you work like me and fear is your motivation. Avoid setting unrealistic tasks, such as saying, I'm going to complete 20 blocks of Uworld in 2 days, because you're not going to do that. My two favorite study techniques: active learning and pattern recognition. Active learning, I subdivide that into active revision and spaced repetition. My form of active revision is basically every question I get on Uworld, whether it's correct or not correct, I will go back to First Aid, I'll open the relevant topic and I'll read up on everything related to it, and I'll read up on the other answer choices as well. Now the second part, which is my favorite, I use the modified version of spaced repetition. So I didn't really do Anki, but I did a kind of weird human bioengineering Anki. So I had a sticky notes on my desktop, right? The ones that you can just pull up and type things. And I typed a list and I kept updating it every day based on the questions that I would keep getting wrong no matter what. Every time I get any question about CNS drugs, I'm like, I forgot everything I read yesterday. So okay, this topic is gonna go on the list. Seeing these notes daily, even if I didn't read them every time, helped my brain process them subconsciously. Whenever I face a UWorld question or an NBME question, I will immediately recognize the topic as a weak one, and I will spend more time on revising and reading about it. Don't force yourself to memorize the information or get frustrated about forgetting it. That is normal. You are gonna encounter similar questions later. Now, where's the gold in my technique? By the time test day approached, so let's say 2 to 4 weeks before, whatever has consolidated in your brain already has. You go through the topics again, and you have started clearing out the topics that you're confident on. However, there's always certain topics that you just can't memorize. You just can't grasp the info. And now, whatever list remains on your sticky notes is the list of rote memorization. These subjects, topics, subtopics, need to be memorized just for exam purposes. So whatever stuff you have a hard time with, you write it down the moment you enter the exam. I wrote down the specificity sensitivity formulas. I wrote down Winter's formula for the acid-base compensation. And now for my second technique, which is pattern recognition. I believe pattern recognition is the most important skill you should be learning for USMLE. You need to identify patterns within the questions, whether they involve CBC values, electrolytes, vital signs. When a number is pathologic, 9 times out of 10, it's directly related to the answer. By picking up on these patterns, you can save time and narrow down the options effectively. Often the information you get wrong on Uworld is something you've actually read in First Aid. The questions might be worded differently or using different terminology. Pay attention to keywords. As an IMG, you might be accustomed to using different eponyms or different names of certain diseases or symptoms. ECFMG and the NBME expects you to know all of them. For instance, onion skin periosteal reaction is also called the dilated periosteal reaction. Learning the terms and definitions of USMLE test makers is crucial. If you can speak their language, you can understand their language, and you can answer the questions. Human brain loves to pick up on patterns, even the ones that you don't realize you're picking up on. It's all happening in your subconscious. Regarding note-taking, I took all my notes in first aid. Keeping it in one place makes it much more efficient to review during the last final stretch of your preparations. For example, bacitracin and fosfomycin were not in First Aid 2022 version. So what did I do? I wrote them right below the relevant topic. Some Uworld info isn't on First Aid. What do? Write it down next to the relevant topic. Boards and Beyond said something that helped you understand a topic differently. What do? Write it down next to the relevant topic. When it comes to efficient review, use mnemonic devices. Whatever topic you dislike or find difficult, trust me, there's a Reddit subreddit that contains a mnemonic device for it. Small tip, if you want to search something on Reddit, search for it on Google and add Reddit in the search bar. Now let's talk about test taking strategies. 6 times out of 10, you can answer USMLE or Uworld questions just by reading the question line. This can save you a significant amount of time, as you already know what you're looking for and can focus your attention accordingly. Even if you couldn't answer the question, by reading the question first, you subconsciously anchor yourself to spot certain trigger words, values, findings that can help you narrow down the answer. For exam day, you need to be time efficient and measure how much time needed for one question. You're given 90 seconds for every question. If I finish a question in 60 seconds, I have just gave myself 30 seconds for the next one, and it adds incrementally. If I have 90 seconds and I used 120 seconds, then I have put myself at a disadvantage of 30 seconds for the next 39 questions, and this adds up incrementally as well. When I finished the first block early, I gained 15 minutes. Then I added it to the next block, and to the next break, and to the next block. The same thing happens negatively. Whenever I start the block, I read the question line, then I read the first 2 lines of the vignette. Is this a topic I'm comfortable or confident with? Or not? Is it a topic that I might need to rely on some maybe memory device that I have to go and retrieve? I realize that I can answer the question in less than 60 seconds, so I will take my time and answer it. And if I realize, I cannot answer it in under 60 seconds, I will immediately press next. I have 90 seconds for this question, 90 seconds for this question, and they're both worth the same points. We don't know how much they're worth, but we do know that they're worth equal amount of points. If I spend 50 seconds on this point, and I spent 90 seconds on this point is more valuable because I have a point and 40 seconds of extra time. Staying on a question for like a minute and a half and then being like, I'm so close to finding the answer. The sunken cost fallacy. I'm already invested 2 minutes into the question. If I leave now, I'm going to have to redo it all over. So why shouldn't I just continue maybe 20 more seconds and I'll find the answer? Wrong. From the beginning, realize and recognize what you can answer and what you can't. You can't be indecisive on test day. Take what you want from this video and leave what you don't. We all are different, we work differently, and find out what works for you. This is the biggest and most real advice anyone is gonna ever give you. Find out what works for you. To end the video, I would like to give you guys a few lifestyle tips. Number 1, study in the same place and same time every day. Preferably the time you booked your exam. I train my brain to be active during those hours because I know in 70 days, I need my brain to be active at full potential during those hours. The human body, as we know from pathology, responds beautifully to any stressor and is able to adapt. Your brain is no different. 2, food. Watch what you eat. Also indulge in your bad eating habits. You're not in the army and you want the dopamine and serotonin. You need them. 3, water intake. We forget to drink water, especially when we're in a flow mode and we're focused on studying for long periods of time. We completely forget to drink water. Number 4, connecting with my first point, sleep and wake up at the same time daily. If your exam is at 8, you need to be up at 6 daily, starting studying at 7 to 7:30 daily for at least 30 to 45 days before your exam. Build the habit. 5, working out and exercising. I have been exercising almost daily for the last 10 years. It's a healthy escape and usually requires you to leave the comfort of your own home, which is good because you get a change of scenery at least once a day. And that's it. These are my go-to study techniques and lifestyle changes to master the USMLE exam. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And remember that there's no such thing as a dumb question. Thank you guys for watching and I'll see you in the next video.